Hey, good morning, everybody. It's December 8th, 2025. Welcome to the Dev Talk Show. How is it going this morning, Rich?
It's going well. It's a good Monday out there. It's nice and crisp and cool, and
Yeah.
off to a couple weeks left before I think many of us start checking out for the holidays here in the U.S. So this week and next week are going to be super busy, but after that, it's going to get quiet real quick. How about
Yeah.
you? How's your?
Yeah, that happens a lot of places. Definitely, I think there's some certain things I'm trying to definitely see get done before, a lot of people start taking off wherever you work, and that might be common for a lot of you. So here we are working on I don't know that it's totally completely defined, but an AI-based show producer for this very channel. And just to give people a quick update, if you haven't watched previous episodes, it's to answer the question of, hey, you found our channel and you see that we definitely break every rule on YouTube by having long form videos. But you might also say to yourself, listen, that was cool. I saw they were doing something with Blazor authentication, but now I see all this content on it. Do I have to watch all 12 episodes just to find out how to create like a single sign-on environment at work with we're all using Entra ID? Like, how do I do that quickly? And so what we're working with is we've already had some success bringing transcripts of the show into let me see if I have this correctly. We were using the Azure AI search.
Yep.
And so that we could, and then you combine that with an agent, and you can start asking some just natural questions, and even getting pointers to timestamps about what we worked on. And I mean, I think we're in the very early days, but the idea is that perhaps you could do the same thing and maybe get pointers directly to content instead of it becomes like this ocean of videos that I've experienced this on many channels where I look at it and I go, you just sort of watch the latest because you look at the big library and say, I don't know that I can wade through all of this. So
Exactly. And sometimes you just want to get right to that piece that answers your question, which I think is the important part. So that's what we're trying to get to.
yeah.
I will say, you were talking about long videos, and there is Aspire Fridays. I don't know if you've
Yes.
seen any of those. And last week they did one where Scott Hanselman joined them, and he's in the process of updating. It's 5 hours. It's a 5-hour video, and you can't put it down. There's so many things that they're doing in the Aspire inside the .NET side, but also things that Scott shows, like the little tricks he does around things in WSL and different commands. So totally worth watching, and it's worth the 5 hours. You put it on 1.5 speed or 175, and it takes a little less than that. But so check that one out. That's one thing I will point to. Go ahead.
I want to see if they have a specific playlist for Aspire Fridays. If I do find it, I will make sure to put it in the show notes, because there are a lot of playlists. Channel. Yeah, it's in the .NET channel, yes, but that .NET
it's
channel
actually moved to its own channel.
Oh, they have their own channel now. Okay, then that explains why. That explains why.
Dev.
Okay, that explains why I'm seeing Aspire Fridays videos, but they're all several months old. Yeah. So, thank you. I didn't realize that they had. I like how
this morning. I thought it was on the same .NET channel.
I do like how okay, so the Aspire channel. Okay, you know what? This is important. Let me aspire.dev is its full name.
Yeah. And this all makes sense when you think about what they're trying to do, right? It used to be .NET Aspire, and it's no longer .NET Aspire because it's Aspire everything, Python, Node, whatever. And this is, I think, a smart move to move it out under its own little segment there of its own channel in YouTube. Oh, I lost you.
Yeah, I had to mute because our producer was upset at me.
Oh, no.
anyways, yeah, I did not see that it had its own channel. And again, one of the things that's happening on YouTube, and I feel like this transition has been slow. And also, I don't know if they've announced it super like really loudly, is that several months back, you may have remembered when they, I don't know if you did this, Rich, when you got an email saying like, hey, you can create your own channel name now.
Okay.
I think they're trying to make all the channel names unique with that @ symbol.
Yeah.
And so you get in this funny place where the channel says Aspire, that's its name, but it's Aspire DOTDEV is kind of the @ symbol for it. And I feel like there's this slow transition happening. All right, cool. That's good to know. So as far as we're concerned, we have, I mean, not to recap too much, we have the AI search and the agent. And now I think we're going to see some, at least we're going to try to see some first steps to what happens next in order to kind of have, it's one thing to use, like example, and I think you're showing it right here. We're in the Microsoft Foundry portal.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of stuff in here. Our users and customers are not going to be in this portal.
Exactly. So we did this. We think there's some cool stuff here, you know, based on the, you know, this question of, hey, when did we talk about GitHub models, and kind of summarize what we talked about? What are the important things that we kind of covered? And that's awesome. But I think it's great. And I could probably share it with you because I think we have access to the similar tenants, right? Or similar subscriptions. But now let's do that next thing. So a couple different ways, and I don't know which path we're going to go down yet, right? What I'm doing is I'm kind of poking around and saying, I've got this project here, or this thing here, and I want it to be, I certainly want to keep it as C#. I don't want to go to Python. Not that there's anything wrong with Python, and not that we shouldn't do Python maybe at some point, but Python's another hurdle for me because now I'm in WSL because I don't have Python in my Windows, you know, you got my Python and my Windows kind of thing, right? I keep that separate. So the idea is I want to build it in C#, and there are examples and packages and ways that we should be able to do that. So if I go to preview, and I'm pretty sure, oh, that's what it was. If I go to code. So in code here, I've got some C# bits that I could certainly use and some ways of making those connections. So we may want to come back here and think about this. But if I just do something simple and say, well, let's go ahead and preview the agent. And what that's going to do is that's going to open it up in another window. And I'm going to bet, I'm going to try this. I didn't try this before, so we're seeing how well this might work. And Chris, maybe you can tell me in the background. So there's that link.
Okay.
Does that give you access?
Okay, and then the link you're talking about here.
The one I just Discord. Yeah, so this here.
Yeah,
oh,
it's
cool.
What's visible on screen, right?
Exactly. That's what you should see.
Okay, and I am going to try that out. Oh, no, it didn't do what I wanted. You know those times when you think you've cut something or copied it and it just didn't seem to do it? Okay, so I am now, I got a request failed with status code 500, which is interesting.
Okay.
I'm going to try refreshing it just to see.
Yep.
No. So maybe there's some access issues that I'm not aware of. Yeah.
But that's good to know, right? So
right.
So even though this link is up on the site, you know, nobody is going to be able to run with it and see it. Okay. That
doesn't look like it anyway. Yeah.
Okay. So from that, I could interact with this. But so let's say there are some permissions I need to set. I probably need to give them something called Azure AI Project User, which would give them access to this AI Foundry or Microsoft Foundry project that we created. And if they have access to it, then they would be able to go ahead and use this agent and ask questions, right? So, you know, the typical questions that we saw. So something like, hey, tell me about the GitHub show, or the show they did on GitHub models. And I can save that and I can run it, and then we go ahead and get the agent thinking, and then it gives us a similar answer to kind of what we saw over in the playground. So the difference, this is a playground, but it's more of a shareable playground. with folks that I work with. So that's great. What's that next step from here? Well, apparently from here, I can get to, wait a minute, is that right? Oh, that is right. Yeah, I could go ahead and actually view a sample with app codes in it. So if I do that, where does that take me? So that takes me here, gives me all the bits that we have, but then also the sample app code here. And that takes us to this website. So there's a Foundry agent website that we could basically download and start to clone. And which one's this? This one's the AI agent web app. So this would be a way of consuming a Foundry agent service, which is basically what we have inside of here. So this might be one thing that we could do to make that happen. Now there's a lot of configuration inside of here. There's some deployment that might happen if we want to go ahead and push this up into an Azure environment. But it looks like, although it looks like it wants to go ahead and do that because it has this Azure resources here. Go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like it supports AZD up. Like up at the top, there was a command line. So it's just ready to go for AZD, which we've used on this show before.
Yeah, but that doesn't, I mean, AZD certainly works, but what if I want to make changes to it? I mean, I guess I got this right here, and we could certainly do that, right?
Yeah, that's just like, use this as is,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we could do that, and it would take probably about 10 minutes or so for it to do.
Yeah.
And that's fine. And I guess if we go back to here, where we were at the beginning, and then this preview kind of gets to the same place where that app code was. But if we look here at the code, if I can move this out of the way, yeah, so I can do this. I can actually open this this agent that I have here inside of VS Code for the web. So if I do that, that's going to spin up a VS Code.dev instance. It's going to set up my environment, and what it's actually doing is it's running it up in Azure Cloud Shell and creating an instance for me up in my Azure workspace. So this will take a few seconds for it to do.
Yeah, so I did not realize that. Okay, because I've certainly used code spaces, but this seems to be, and it's not on your machine. So I wonder if this isn't, now I'm beginning to wonder if there's an extension, an Azure Cloud Shell type extension that maybe you could use locally too. Not that there's anything wrong with VS Code.dev. I think it's pretty cool that, with just minimal friction, you can just see things working.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's what I'm trying to explore here. I want to, from that playground, what are the possible places we might want to go ahead and proceed from? So much like you do when you remote connect into a some SSH component, or your dev containering into some kind of a container instance, you have this little section down here which kind of tells you the environment you're sitting in. Most of the times it's just the two arrows, the arrows facing each other. But here we've got Cloud Shell, and if I click that, I can get some options in there around Cloud Shell. So the idea being is that, hey, you've got this capability that you're connected to. But what did it give me? It really just gave me this agent CS file that I could do.
This is using .NET Run, isn't it? Okay.
Well, it really isn't, because there's our proj file.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't even know.
Nope, that's fine. And that's I'm getting some good IntelliSense from this window here that I usually don't see in the command line. So I'm kind of curious what they are using for that, because that seems pretty. I should go back to what I had. Run agent CS. There we go. So if I run this, it's not going to run a web app. It's actually, it's basically a program file, and it's going to go ahead and make the communication happen against my agent and actually ask it ask it a question, which is fine, but that's kind of not what we wanted. What we probably want to do is see, hey, can I? I'm trying to see where that. Oh, hello, tell me a joke. Maybe this should be hello, exclamation point. Tell me about the Blazor authentication show, period. So now if we go ahead and we save this and run it, so I was talking to our agent. You can see it's got that down there in the corner. And right, because, and I don't know this for sure, it may not be wired up with the right tools that it needs to be able to make that connection to the AI search. So there's a little bit of components that are lacking here. This is just basically the structure that lets it talk to the project, get the agent, get the right agent, because the agent is important, and then essentially generate a client that does a create response. So it's a little less performant than what we had running in the chat app up in those capabilities there. Now, can we augment that? Probably. We'd probably work with the Foundry SDK and be able to bring that in. We might bring those tools or those assets, like here's our vector store, and be able to bring that into the conversation, right? I say this not that there's problems. This is all preview stuff, but realize that there's some hurdles that we might need to kind of figure out and jump through as we go through and do this. That's all. And that was, I actually spent a good bit of time yesterday kind of starting to understand, well, what are the various pieces that might be available? So this is so we've seen a couple, right? You can get to that playground view, which is here. I'm going to close this, right? Where I can actually start to do it. If we're all in the same project, other people can see it, which is really what I want to we'll move towards. I've got this way of essentially getting it down into VS Code, running inside of a Cloud Shell container, where I could make some changes to my agents or start to stitch agents together and do those things. But I need a little more work to get it going up to where it was up inside of Foundry. And then from here, I could actually publish what's here out to those environments. But again, that doesn't make the changes that we want. There's one other place. Oh, that's what it was. If I was in here, we can look at the instructions file. And the instructions file preview actually gave it to us up at the beginning here. Come on. Talks to us about running through the agent, how I can update the agent, and then be able to do another one of those AZD commands and run with get started with AI agents. Getting started with AI agents is fine, but that particular sample, that's AI chatter agents, sorry. AI agents. Okay, let's try this. Boop. Agents. Okay. Cool. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but this does do the connection that we want of talking to AI search and all that, but it is a Python project, right?
Right.
We see here it's Python and TypeScript. So we probably have a back end and a front end. If we look at the source, right, we've got our data component, and we've got our API, and then we have our front end. So we have our two pieces there essentially. So certainly could go down this path, but this is going to take us down a path that isn't in a language that the rest of this that we have here is for us. So where do we go from here? I don't know. It's a question.
I don't know if this is the same as some of the new templates. I just don't know. I saw in .NET Conf that there are templates now. They're both in Visual Studio, and I'm guessing, I didn't follow through after watching some of the coverage whether these are now .NET new based templates or if you have to install something to get them. I don't know.
Yep. Good question. So if we go here, and I think I already had this installed, but there is the, here we go. Nope, that's the wrong thing. I want this one. Your .NET New AI Chat Web. So that's a template that gives us essentially a web chat interface. And there's some templates available for us to do that. and then they are supporting the .NET 10 capability. So they're updated and recent templates, and those templates, those AI templates, do a couple things. Not only do they give us the chat one, but they also give us a model context protocol or an MCP server that we can spin up ourselves as well. So it gives us some of the things we need from an AI perspective. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
I have those here, and what I did was I actually created a. Where did I did it back here. Sorry.
Right.
We actually created a project to go ahead and start doing that. So let's open that up and see what that looks like. And there's a lot of pieces in here. It isn't all .NET, because they're actually using a app.js and JavaScript for the front end parts, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a little bit of, what is your NTS library, PDF, yeah. So it looks like there are some other, so it's not just one language essentially, but the bulk of this is a .NET app. Okay. So what we can try and do is, can I run this? I probably don't have all of the configuration and everything set up here, because I basically just did, missing a configuration. So once GitHub token. So in here, OpenAI credentials. Okay. So let's do a little bit of housekeeping. So key credentials. So this is looking for essentially to use the model, the GitHub models. So the free capability of those models. We could probably do that. We already have models deployed inside of our Azure instance, inside of Foundry. So there is a path. Let me think for 1 second here. GitHub models to there we go. Yeah, it was in here. There we go. So we've got upgrade from GitHub models to Microsoft Foundry models, which is what we want to do. This interesting. So this is actually doing this in Foundry as opposed to doing it in code. This is also classic. So that's the other thing to consider when you're looking at Foundry. There's the classic one, which we had up before Ignite, and then the new one. So we always want to make sure that we're looking at the new stuff. Now, some of them,
did the top thing, did they have a link to a new experience? Oh, no, you're right. This document refers to the new. Okay, this is what you want, I think.
Yeah, and it is very similar documentation. So for a lot of it, the documentation doesn't change much. All right, here's what we're going to need to do, though. Inside here, I know that we're going to need to make this. This credential is not the same. We want to use the. Make sure it's not telling me here as well. Okay. Let me just do this. So in the program file for the credential, it is using the GitHub models, which means it has a token and a key. I want to switch this up to use the Azure default credential instead of the GitHub model, so we can talk to the OpenAI, Azure OpenAI instance. So what we're doing here is I know this has to change. If we use the default credential, then what that will do is that we'll use whatever credentials that I've signed into the Azure CLI local on my machine, or if it's running up in the cloud, the default credential would then give it whatever the managed identity with which that service is running inside of. So if you've hosted this in an app service, then that app service's identity is what you would be accessing those, be accessing the OpenAI models with up there. So that's what we're going to change here and see how much it wants to change. It shouldn't change that much. It should just be the one line. So it searched the docs for us. That was cool. Come on. It wants to bring in packages, which I don't know that we need to bring those in. So let's take a look. We got extensions AI. We've got, oh, it's the Azure identity it wants. Okay. PDF one doesn't matter. Okay, so let's just do this. Cool. All right, it gives a little better version, so let's skip that. No, skip. You don't need to worry about that. It's already done. Yes, so let's switch over to program. Let's do using Azure.identity. All right, let's do this. Yes.
Okay, I'm trying to catch up if this is the clone. This is the .NET new version, because I'm still looking at the new templates for extensions AI, and so this is the.
This should be related to that, right? Because it's using
Yeah.
the extensions AI bits. So yeah, this is from a .NET perspective. I feel this is closer to how we might move forward without going all the way into something like the Microsoft Agent Framework. Because for this kind of back and forth chat interface that we're doing here with the retrieve, augment generation, or the RAG pattern over top of it, that should be enough. Okay, I see what it did there. Use the Barito composite for that. Okay. Let's get rid of that because that doesn't matter. Okay, that should help. It has all of those in the configuration file, which we haven't set yet. And then this one here.
Okay, let me see if I can follow along. I want to find a link that talks about these new templates. It was Microsoft
It should be under
Extensions
AI.
AI.net.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So this is the.
Okay. Yeah, I found it. There's a install the .NET AI app template, which is what you did a little bit earlier.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
because I haven't done that here, and I think what I want to do is make sure that I'm summarizing what we've done. Because if you've watched previous shows, you've seen us in Microsoft Foundry using these tools, and now it's like, okay, well, let's start with this sample app. Let me, like I said, I'm going to get that into our show notes. It'll be nice. I'm hoping that someday that maybe it's possible to just say that aloud and it just gets added to the show notes.
That would be fun. Now I know it's part of that template that came in. But I'm trying, if you look at all of these quick starts here, they're just basically console apps. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at your screen, and I think you're right in that in this section. So when you go to the last, you're in the section you're in right now. The last quick start is the one that references. This is the first one that, in fact, that's what I linked to, is .NET new install. It was like pretty early in the document. But then after that, this particular walkthrough is going through Azure OpenAI service and all that, and we're at the point where like, well, I think I'm correct in saying we have this.
We should.
We just need to wire it up. We need to wire up what we have instead of where this quick start says, okay, go deploy the model, go deploy the text embedding. Like, we've done that.
Right. But where things are a little different is this part here, right?
Yes.
It was pointing to the GitHub models and not this, even though we have that service. So that's what we need to kind of get configured and get changed up. See, I think we're close. If we go back to this, so undo that. I don't know why. Do we really need primitives for this? And I don't think we need, because this is looking at the cognitive services, which we're not using. So I'm going to hold off on that one. Because what we should be able to put in there is, let me see. So it takes a credential. Our authentication policy. It doesn't like that, even though I have it.
Yeah, in their example, they're using the default Azure credential, but in that same, that's just their example. Yeah. Or I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, that's fine. It should be. Oh, there we go. Leverage this default Azure credential, which is what I would expect.
Yeah, in this case, and listen, I don't know that this is the issue you're having, because I don't necessarily think it is they have a step where they're like, well, make sure you're signed in. But I think you're past that. I think you're past, you're signed into the Azure CLI.
Yeah, and just to be sure, let's see.
Just
If
do
I
like, yeah, exactly. Just a quick Azure command. So there you go.
cool. And in case table -O is the output, -O table,
Yep.
you get this. So that's cool. Okay. Clear that.
Yeah, that -O table, just for people, that's become like a best friend of mine. In fact, I made that the default output for a little while.
Yeah.
It's tough because that's nice to look at, but it's not great for automation, because with automation you want the JSON output so that you can like ingest it, and it's just easier to query.
Yeah.
So
And I've had scripts break because same thing, default table, and I've had scripts break because of that, because it's
Right.
affecting the JSON and it doesn't see the properties it needs to see. So important safety tip.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, the -O table is great, and then I've been trying to do so much more automation, which, you know, I think as people, if you've watched this show for the last few years, people know that I love automating through the Azure CLI and even having like bash scripts or something. But I'm 2026, right? Let's call it a New Year's resolution, is automate through other means, whether it's, you know, I'm interested in both Terraform and Bicep myself, but just automate as code. It's funny. I used to have a philosophy that I thought like a bash or PowerShell script itself, like, hey, I like this because it's so portable. Anybody could just run it. And that's only partially true. Like it is true, but you got to have the AZ CLI set up anyway. So it's not completely turnkey. It's not just like, just take this, it'll run on any machine. There you go. And
yeah, no, and I agree. It doesn't matter whether you're using Bicep or Terraform, or even I've seen some things where they're starting to roll Pulumi into it as well. It just use something. Yeah, that's what we want. Azure OpenAI. And we probably don't have it in there as a package, do we? There's extensions OpenAI. Okay, that's probably that. Go ahead.
We've done something similar. I just don't know that I have the code available.
Yeah,
getting all the namespaces and packages right. We just did this.
Yep.
And when I say we just did this, it was at Philly.net, right?
We did that with the agent framework, yeah.
And is that?
Let's see. Go ahead. Well, that's doing that. Come back here.
Because that's Azure OpenAI client. You're right. And then it's a different using and different packages.
Yeah. Azure CLI credential, we use your logged in. Right. This is what we're trying to do.
OpenAI response client. The problem is that, so this particular sample, right? And I know, and maybe we have to discuss this because there's this little nuance. Yeah. The difference between OpenAI and Azure OpenAI. It's in terms of like, you're a developer, you're using all of these classes and you're using these different packages. They are different, right?
They are. And at one point, so this application is talking to Azure OpenAI, the Azure OpenAI service.
Mhm.
Now, the Azure OpenAI service is using the OpenAI models
Okay.
for the LLM conversation, right? So the GPT models.
Okay. So I guess kind of what I'm wondering is, this is where it gets confusing. It's okay to use the OpenAI namespace, the items in that namespace, even though we're in Azure OpenAI. Is it because of the model we're using?
It's yes, because of the model we're using, we can use the OpenAI. What, if I recall, what was the case is that you would have the Azure OpenAI client, but in that OpenAI, in the Azure OpenAI client, there was also a reference to the OpenAI SDK, because that's how you talk to the OpenAI model. So instead of redoing it inside of the Azure OpenAI client, you had a dependency on the OpenAI, and that's why they're kind of interchangeable, but not really.
Okay, all right. I was just trying to figure out. I mean, like it says here, you can wire up in the answer that you got, which
Right.
you can wire up an Azure OpenAI client with a managed identity,
which is what that default credential should give us.
Right. Now, you may have already tried this. It's suggesting to use the Azure OpenAI client, and I think you already tried this, because right now you just have OpenAI.
Right. I don't think we have the right reference to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or we do the OpenAI client options. Well, let's just bounce out here for a second. If I go to new tab, Azure. I mean, this is, but that is what we have there. We go back to our project and our dev. Well, no, actually it's AI extensions AI. Huh. And I wonder if that's a version thing. Now that we're on 10, that it's moved to, well, all right, so let's try this.
Package got misspelled, just so you know.
Thank you. How are we doing on time?
It's 8:27 right now, and then this is a pre-release.
Oh, it is. Which gave us 2.7 beta. Okay. Does the identity need to be pre-released too? No, that's just regular identity.
No, yeah.
Okay. And then, right, so we should get a client, we drop in whatever the URL is, and then the thingy. So client, yep. And our order's a little out of order. So it'll take the endpoint, take an endpoint, take an endpoint. So it definitely just needs an endpoint. So boom. I guess they're not new. wants to.
No, it is. It's just that now, again, I don't know how many different overloads there are.
Right.
But I remember seeing in the docs that the particular overload had 3 parameters. But there might be other overloads too, like the endpoint, credential, and client options.
Yep.
But there might be other overloads. So
right.
But
so,
this one takes the overload, takes the credential, and then there's no options.
Mm-hmm.
But in the example over there, what were they? I don't know what they were setting as options, but they were setting something.
Yeah, the only option we set here was the endpoint, but over here, if they're doing,
so that's weird. Oh no, I see.
If the audience is different.
What's the audience? Okay.
Cool. Is that your stand-up starting?
Yeah, but it's okay. I got another minute here because I think you might be running, maybe.
We should be. I just have to give it. We don't have to worry about chat deployment. We don't have to worry about embedding deployment right now. What I need to do is do this. Let's go back to here. Can you come off me for a minute? Just in case.
Yeah, hold on just a second. Yeah, I understand. I know. Now I got to switch layouts and switch our. So hold on. Okay, now we are off.
Cool. Let's cover. Where would we? Let's just do this. Come on. Cool. Okay. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, I don't know if you're still on a secret screen or not.
No, we're good.
Okay. So we have the OpenAI endpoint and the deployment name, and then the embedding deployment, which we talked about.
Right.
Lots of new terms for me.
Yeah. We don't want to use their embedding stuff.
Okay.
Because we've got our own embedding. So at least for right now, we just want to make this run. It's probably trying to run through all this. So we need chat, we need a chat client. I don't need a embedding generator. I don't need vector storage. All right, last try, and then I think we got to roll it up for you.
Okay.
It's a configuration on the chat deployment. Oh.
Unless you need I don't know if it's considered a secret here.
I don't think it is.
The chat deployment, yeah, because that's just the name of the deployment, right?
Should. Oh.
It's looking for the chat deployment, but I don't know if you've set that because I wasn't watching. None of us were watching that screen.
Yeah, I did not. Because all I did was go and get the URL, which is there anyway. So the chat deployment is GPT. I believe we have 4.1 in there. Let's just do that. That should help. Okay.
Okay. Right. So I guess what you're saying here, just to get things running, is you don't necessarily need it to be a setting, whether it's app setting or environment or however you want to do .NET configuration. Mm-hmm. Just to see it running, you're not asking for that. And so actually, I do see the app is running, listening on 5263. And I think notice, just to get things working quickly, we're locally using HTTP, which is fine. Although I always recommend to everybody, make sure the HTTPS version is working as early as possible.
Exactly.
There are things that, like, man, if you don't want to get too far down the road and then find out you're having some trouble with the HTTPS version. Okay, so
it did fail on somewhere along the way in there.
No registered service.
Trying to do the semantic search.
Okay, so we may have some other things to figure out how to wire up here.
Yep. But I think this is where we want to, I think this is the one we want to build upon.
Okay.
And probably have it pointing back via Foundry SDK to some of the things that already exist, which is the reason for doing it. Otherwise, why go through the pain of, setting all that up and then not be able to take advantage of it.
Right. So as a summary, we've got in Microsoft Foundry, we have a project, because that's kind of a new thing in Foundry, is you create projects to bring the services together. And one of them is Azure OpenAI Search, just to have a place that this is where the data lives. And then an agent that we have been chatting with, but we've been doing it in the Foundry playground. And now we are trying to use the brand new, as of like just a few weeks ago, what do they call it? They call it the AI Chat Web App Template, which is a Blazor template. I believe that if we look deeply into the template, it's only using server render modes. I don't know if we'll have to look at it and see if it's even using the SignalR based Blazor server, or is it all maybe it's just all static site rendering, because I'm not sure what interactivity it really needs. I could be wrong. We could look at the app. But except that app, if I understand correctly, the issue with that app is by default, its wiring is OpenAI, and the quick starts are using GitHub models, which are great because they're these free models. Anybody can get started with them. And what we're trying to do is say, let's make the shift to Microsoft Foundry based Azure OpenAI models.
Yes.
So that terminology, I hope I got all that terminology right. And it's difficult because a lot of the same terms, it's a whole new language that I'm learning, things that we've done. These are just all new terms, everything from agents to models, and what does it all mean? So, all right. Yep. But we should get going. So thank you for getting us started there. And I appreciate that. And we are going to continue on this. So thank you for sticking with us if you made it this far. And if you did, don't hesitate to check out any other shows, just at youtube.com/thedevtalkshow. We got a LinkedIn page. If you follow us there, eventually maybe we'll be able to stream on LinkedIn, which I would love to do. Other than that, thank you for joining us. And Rich, if there's nothing else, we'll get moving.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So for Rich, I'm Chris, and we'll see you all next time on the Dev Talk Show.